All right, so moving between stages 5 and 6 of load shedding indefinitely means that we're battling through a minimum of 8 and a maximum of 11 hours a day without power. That's, of course, if your power is restored in time. And that means the grid cannot meet at least 6,000 megawatts of power, which is being demanded. We already know the grid is operating at less than half its capacity. But is the picture actually worse than that? I'm joined now by Vally Padayachee. He's chairperson of the Management Committee of the National Rationalised Specifications Association of South Africa. Mr. Padayachee, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to start by asking you what the National Rationalised Specifications Association of South Africa does. And please keep it simple for me.
Thank you, Sally, and a very good evening to you and a very good evening to your viewers as well. Yes, at a very high level, the NRS Association of South Africa, as it's commonly known, our membership is like-minded bodies, and they include all metros, Munichs, Eskom Holdings, the South African Bureau of Standards, and the National Energy Regulator of South Africa. So it's a very powerful body, I'd argue. We've generally worked in the background for the last 25 years or so, and we issued our first media release about a month ago. But what we do is that we essentially produce specifications and standards for the electricity supply industry, and I would also add the electricity distribution industry to that. And we get our legal status when through the SANS process and through the NERSA process.
All right, so where do you come in on this load shedding situation? What's your input? Where do you assist? Where can you help?
We play a very significant role, given our membership and the legal status that we get. In a nutshell, in the interest of time, the NRS Association, through its specification or code of practice, as we call it, and let me call it NRS 048 Part 9, which Edition 2 is legally mandated, in a nutshell, regulates load shedding. Because Edition 2 is a legally mandated document to the NERSA process, which further escalates into the ERA, the Electricity Regulation Act. So right. Edition 2 is that, and then, yeah.
Okay, so when you say you regulate... Sorry, carry on. You're in the midst of what?
We are in the midst of revising Edition 2, because Edition 2 only takes us up to Stage 8, and if we go beyond Stage 8, we get into an emergency contingency measure. But the NRS Association, being prudent and responsible, we've revised. In fact, we are in the final stages of revising Edition 2 to accommodate increased levels of load shedding, which I think any pragmatic professional person can't overrule, given the current state of the national grid.
All right, so I'm going to, I mean, clearly you operate at a very high level, and it's a lot of engineers and a lot of sort of technicalities and legalities. You say you regulate load shedding, and you spoke about this document that sort of regulates it and lays it out, is what I would imagine. But you're revising it to go beyond Stage 8. Is that, and you're saying that's a pragmatic thing, not because you think it will go beyond Stage 8, I would imagine, but because pragmatically we might be facing that. Am I nutshelling it correctly?
Yes, I think it's correct. I mean, maybe just to add to your adjectives there, as I said, with Edition 2, currently it's up to Stage 8, and then if we went beyond Stage 8, the grid is still safe in the sense that there are formalized measures, but that would have taken us into an emergency contingency measure regime through the various utilities. What we've sought to do with Edition 3, inter alia, is to take away the emergency and contingency measures regime, because when we're getting to that level, which is beyond Stage 8, the propensity to make errors is obviously there. So what we're doing with edition 3 is to take away that propensity. So
All right,
that's
so
inter alia.
yeah, okay. So you're saying that currently anything beyond stage 8 involves emergency and contingency measures. Your revised edition goes beyond stage 8 and takes away these emergency and contingencies. So am I saying that you're trying to work out how to go beyond stage 8 and make it safe and all in order? In other words, trying to work out how the grid can shed more than 8,000 megawatts of power and still keep running safely. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. In other words, what we must not forget that our business as an NRS Association is to protect the national grid from collapsing. And what we mean by that is that we do not want to get into a blackout situation. And as I've always kept on saying in the media, load shedding is an excellent management tool to prevent that. So going beyond stage 8, although with all its inconveniences and impact to the economy, is a rationalized, technically accepted methodology to prevent us from getting into a blackout. And that's our business.
And I understand that. And I get it. Load shedding is what we have to suffer through, but it's all to preserve the grid. We understand that. Realistically, I mean, bearing in mind, and I want to bring up a tweet, actually, that my producer found, and it was sent out by Eskom last week, and it said 7,000 megawatts taken off the grid, but then it says stage 6 plus load curtailment stage 4. Now, I understand the difference between curtailment and reduction and load shedding. It's whether it's an area that doesn't pay and you just reduce them from the grid for a while, load shedding that we know, or curtailment, which is asking specific businesses. But realistically, have we gone beyond stage 8 load shedding or more than 8,000 megawatts off our grid already?
No, I think we'll be very careful. We realistically haven't gone beyond stage 8 because the stage that was officially declared by national control and the system operator is stage 6. But yes, if you ask the question, did we offload, and I'm using simple language for the purpose of the public, or did we take off 8,000 megawatts from the grid? Yes. But what the public has seen is stage 6. And why that has happened is because before you get into a load shedding situation, national control, the system operator, does a number of other initiatives to try and mitigate the deficiency, which includes curtailment, where key customers
we know about that.
Reduce the load and the critical loads. So if you add that, yes, realistically, we've taken off in that situation maybe 7,000 megawatts of the grid, but officially, and what the utilities have seen and the public have seen is
it was
stage 6. Now,
okay, I'm going to ask you.
Let me add to this.
Sorry, yeah.
As an NRS, and I talk on behalf of NRS, not ESCOM. As an NRS, we legally mandate the utilities to take whatever decisions considered prudent and technically viable to protect the grid, the national grid. But how the stage is called, which is done by ESCOM National Control and System Operator, the details of that you should get from ESCOM. Because I don't talk on behalf of ESCOM.
I want to ask you
just to say that NRS mandates. Yeah, go ahead.
I understand. Sorry. Thank you for that. I know that municipalities are also fall under you. We hear this quite a lot, and I wonder if you can give me some guidance. Is this... Joburg has a lot of outages. For example, we're a big city, but large parts of Joburg are in the dark for a long period of time. Is it purely anecdotal and perception that other areas, smaller cities, smaller towns, other parts of the country, actually get a little bit less load shedding than the bigger cities?
No, I think we must be very careful. We don't get less load shedding. I can talk a lot about city power because I used to be a senior executive there for over 10 years. and City Power, and I was there when the first load shedding happened in 2008. And so the city of Joburg and City Power is, I think, arguably the largest load center in the country. So as per NRS 048, everybody sheds the same stage, but the load distribution will be different because they are of different size load centers and demand. I mean, typically Joburg has a number of high demand customers. So Sally, I'm not sure if I've answered that part of the question to you.
I think so. I think some people, yeah, no, some people say, oh, well, smaller towns, they only have 3 or 4 hours when other places have, like, when we have 8 hours. But are you saying that it actually all evens out in the end?
I think it all evens out at the end. It's not predicated on time. It's predicated on meeting the deficiency, and the deficiency is obviously on the megawatt differences between supply and demand. But maybe, Sally, just to indicate that some of the longer hours, I mean, if it happens if you're on 2-hour shift, load shedding, you probably come back after 2.5 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, you come back after 8.5, 9 hours. Now, there are various reasons for that.
Yeah,
but
sure.
the biggest reason for that is that when you have longer hours of load shedding, for example, your geysers, which are high consumers of energy, get a lot more colder, okay? It's normally about 2.3 kilowatts for an average 200-liter geyser. But the longer you take, then when you come back, you need more energy. I'm very simplistic here, to heat up the geyser.
So the longer you take it, it's harder to get your own household system up, and I imagine other parts of the city as well. Thank you so much for giving us an insight into the sort of high-level focus that you have to have in essentially formulating what load shedding is, what it looks like. Vally Padayachee, Chairperson of the Management Committee of the NRS Association of South Africa, and they are working on a plan that will look at what happens after stage 8.